Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on and wrap up this week's theme of exploring artists who have only been able to feature on the channel once before. Today we're going to be wrapping things up with Cat Power, which we've checked out earlier last year, around April. It's been about a year and a half. And the last time we checked him out, I described him as emotional grunge, which in retrospect isn't all grunge emotional. Not really sure what I was going on with that, but maybe it made more sense if I remember what I had said about that song. That's the nature of listening to like 1,000 tracks a year, though. Let's dive into this, see what Cat Power is bringing to the table with the song Crossbones Style. Ooh, nice syncopation. So we have this release and then hair bit of tension, release. 2-chord idea right here. And of course, as soon as I say that, we have a full 4-chord progression. Something folky in the way the melody is written. Interestingly, too, a hyper-focus around a home note, kind of raise and lower, but always returning right back to that home. Love the harmonies. Ooh, harmonic dissonance there. Almost using the second vocal line as a pedal tone for the slight movement on the first vocal line. That one chord coming in real tense. Interesting that unbelievable is single vocal, and then the harmony comes back in unbelievable. I wonder what the intention was of not putting or actually I guess adding more focus to the unbelievable part. Yeah, I don't know that I have a lot to talk about in this one. I think it's going to be a rather short reaction here. We definitely have a verse-chorus structure on this, and we pretty much just bounce back and forth between those. I don't think I heard a bridge in here at all. However, both of the verse and chorus, our A and B, are very similar. They focus primarily on 2 chords, a tension and a release, And we have a pretty straightforward drum part behind that. There's some syncopation to it. I noticed right off the bat we had a cool little half beat bass kick between beats 1 and 2 to kind of have that drive into the middle of the bar. But generally speaking, the drum is rather static, a little bit muted in its expressiveness, and it's also not very loud either. The bass tone, or the bass kick tone, is rather rounded off and muffled just a hair bit. The hi-hat is closed, gives it a bit of a tighter, shorter sound, more staccato style, and even the snare attacks are light. They don't cut through anything, they're just sort of there. We have the bass line that helps support the 2 chords that we're primarily getting out of the guitar. And then the guitar gives us our 2 chords. Both of these instruments are a bit on the lighter side. Not a lot of body, not a lot of presence, not a lot of bite. And this lines up with the vocals too, which are more of a comfortable delivery. In fact, kind of not too different from the way I'm talking right here. There's not a lot of, the notes themselves are supported well as far as air goes, but as far as projection, size of the sounds, the vocals aren't that. There's a timidness, a quietness, a closeness to them. This isn't something that the vocalist is screaming on the rooftops to a bunch of people. It's more intimate than that. These are thoughts for only those close to them, is sort of what I get out of it. And I think when you listen to the vocal delivery as well, and you kind of hear that it's not just quieter and even more comfortable as far as pitch, but there's also a wavering element to it where the pitch just kind of wavers a little bit, not in a vibrato kind of way, but just where it's not quite as supported with the air pressure that would allow it to have a bit more stability. And that comes across as, once again, it could be timid, but it could just be tired. It could just be that there's a carefree element to it. They're not worried so much about being pitch perfect. And I think if we kind of pair all this together and we get something that's a bit more personal and colloquial, something close to the person, we kind of get something that feels familiar. And that's what I get out of most of this. It is a quiet moment between someone and someone or something else that is close to them. Maybe it is themselves. Maybe it is a song to who they are, who they were, who they want to be. Maybe it's a song about a close friend. But there is a lack of need to wear a mask, to present oneself as something other than what they are. There is a lot of authenticity in this, but not a lot of projection. They're comfortable with just a quieter, direct conversation here. That's what I get out of most of this, the simplicity of it, harmonically, rhythmically, melodically, and the general production of it. I do like the vocal layering though. The harmonies sound great. I think that they help widen out the track a little bit and give the primarily chorus sections have these a little bit of a sonic differentiation from the verses. Not necessarily to make it feel like it's a massive pendulum shift to a different sound or style or part of the song, but simply just to create some sort of change between the two modes. But it's also, I think, gorgeously done because the vocals in the chorus tend to be a bit more muted. In fact, all of the vocals do, but I think it really hones in into the chorus section. Muted as far as pitch goes. There's this home note, and you don't really deviate too far from it. A half step or a whole step up, basically just like one note up in the scale, one note down in the scale, and that's as far as you can really get away from home. You always got to return back to it. I don't know what to read into this. I don't know what it's supposed to represent. I'm trying to relate it back to my feeling of something a bit more personal and familiar, and I don't know. Again, it could just be a comfort to it too. When I talk, my voice isn't jumping way between all these different notes. It just sounds ridiculous, right? I'm not doing pop style vocal runs when I talk to you. It's a rather tight range of pitches that I use when I speak. Maybe that's also what's going on here as well. It just sounds a little bit more pronounced in singing because we are used to melodies having a bit more pitch dexterity to them. Whereas in speech, we don't really expect it as much. There's places where you can raise or lower your voice, generally just to create flow, but it's not something people really pay attention to much of, particular pitches when people are being spoken to. Could you imagine just sitting there? Yeah, he went up to the G sharp. Must be pretty upset. Like, pitch doesn't play that much of a role, at least in American English. So I mean, maybe that's it too. It's a bit more muted pitch-wise because it is familiar. It is more conversational. But I did notice that, and I thought it was interesting too, that the backup vocal that comes in, sometimes it always supports it. It's playing a lower note than the main vocalist, but sometimes it moves with the vocalist. Whatever note they move to, it's the same interval, but other times it isn't, and it portrays a bit of a pedal tone for the other vocals to be referenced to. I don't have anything to read into that, but I do think it's interesting that the supporting harmonies shift in their role. I think that's a pretty cool thing going on in here. Is there anything else I wanted to add on to this? I mean, usually we would bring up atmosphere, right? It's kind of empty. Harmonically, we're looking at a push and pull between tension and release, occasionally moving into more strict tension with more dissonance in there rather than simply a less stable consonant harmony. I view this primarily from a musical standpoint to help add some character and movement in those places. I think those also primarily happened in the chorus when we pushed towards the true dissonance. But it's such a rare part of this track. I think we heard that chord only 2 or 3 times across the 3-minute runtime. So it just didn't pop up very often. I do think it was more for coloring and contrast than anything else, but I would love to hear an interview with Cat Power about this track in particular and kind of see what insight and intention they had with that. Or maybe it was just, hey, this sounds kind of cool here, let's do it. That's always possible when it comes to music as well. Not everything needs to mean something. But like I said, I don't personally see anything in it from my perspective, looking at, from the outside in as an observer of the art rather than a creator of it. Let me hit some lyrics to this and then we're going to wrap this one up. Well, what I got out of the music doesn't seem to be reflected in the lyrics at all. And honestly, I have an interview with Cat Power. It kind of talks about where the lyrics came from for the song, and even knowing what the inspiration was, I still don't see that in the lyrics. They're very vague. I think that's what stands out to me the most about them. There's only a couple of stanzas. A lot of repetition is used in here. It says, how time flies with crystal clear eyes, and cold as coal when you're ending with diamond eyes. Cold as coal, I think, is an interesting phrase because coal is typically used to create fire. It's interesting here then it would be described as cold. But aside from that, this stanza doesn't really say much to me. Time flies with crystal clear eyes. So it's easy to see how fast time's moving. And cold as coal when you're ending with diamond eyes. I have no idea what any of that means. Oh, come child, in a crossbone style, come and rescue me because you have seen unbelievable things. That's the chorus right there. We'll talk about this in a second, but without any context, I don't get this. Even with context, I'm a little confused, but again, give me a second. The other part says, hater, I have your diamonds. And still, because you've seen unbelievable things, hater, I have your diamonds. That's it. That's the entirety of the song. Those three stanzas are just repeated many times. Now, the context to this, in an interview for The Guardian in 2018, Cat Power states, quote, I had been in South Africa, Mozambique, and Tanzania for 2 months alone. It really dented me, that experience. Crossbone Style is about two children I met. Their parents were killed and they lived in trees at night. A lot of kids slept in the trees in the park. End quote. So it says, child, come rescue me because you've seen unbelievable things. I'm talking about these children who have lost their parents, but there isn't an orphanage in the area. They just simply care for themselves now. And our narrator is asking those children to rescue them, an adult in this situation. The only thing I can take from this is a rescuing of me from myself, caught up in colloquial first world problems and seeing the reality of people's lives in third world countries and realizing that maybe what you find important, what you find is worth fighting for, what you find your life revolves around needs to be altered, rejiggered, recontextualized. Maybe they're just not as important as you thought, since there's bigger things in the world, larger problems. That's the only read I can get out of this. But I don't know how to extrapolate that towards any of the other stanzas, which don't really seem to say much to me at all here. So, yeah, if you have any insights to this, or maybe more interviews that I could read that might help explain some of this, I'm down. I'm all ears. Let me know, because these are just my thoughts on Cat Power's Crossbone Style. What did you think of this? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own perspective or take on any of this? Please put all of that, as well as anything else you'd like to add, into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, is a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today, but I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.